Right, we're going to test a few athletes here at Boothby Performance today, but first we want to go through our testing explanations and why it's a pivotal point in our training program. So really all we've done is taken kinematics and applied them to our training. We're looking at the body in kind of like a Rubik's Cube, but instead of having the different layers of colors, we're using shapes. So for our example today, we're using an upside down triangle to demonstrate the shoulder girdle, a vertical rectangle to represent the core girdle, and then a triangle to represent the hip girdle. Now, the reason why we do this is to demonstrate the instability through the core here. If we were to stack these three shapes like that, we'd have a hard time keeping them aligned. And it's very, very similar with the human body. In the human body, we have muscles that run vertical and cross those three girdles to help stabilize them. What we're looking at through our study of the kinematics is what compensations are happening through those three girdles and what muscles are hypertoned or at more tension to create that dysfunction or that asymmetry. And so we're going to evaluate three different areas. We're going to look at first our breathing patterns through that core, and if we see a lot of hypertonicity through these muscles, compensation through there, our breathing patterns are going to be impacted. And that's going to have a greater impact on our peripheral biomechanics. It's also, through the breathing, going to have an impact on our endurance. If we aren't delivering oxygen as efficiently or optimally as we can, then we're going to fatigue faster. We're going to have a lower endurance. Also, efficiency. With that compensation, that dysfunction of the asymmetry through those three girdles, we create more drag. So the body or the muscles have to work harder to create the same outputs during high intensity activities, really games or practices. And then our resistance to fatigue is clearly going to go down there, and that's only going to exacerbate some of the dysfunction that we currently have through the body. So when we work at a higher intensity, one that we can't necessarily support through our breathing, through our movement patterns, we're going to get compensation. We're going to find a way to get that job done. The body's made for adaptability, not durability. But when we look at these three areas, the most important thing that we're doing is quantifying intensity. And this is a problem that a lot of training programs have because either they don't use or apply kinematics to it, they don't do the extensive testing, or they're just not really familiar with the physiology of the body. When we look at the intensity, we're quantifying that through the impact on the movement patterns. So if we have a high intense workout, that next day we're going to evaluate these same patterns and we can quantify the intensity of that workout based off the impact on that body system. So we're able to day to day look, evaluate, and then make adjustments to volume, intensity, and even some of the patterns that we're using to load and create stimulus or adaptations. So this is a big part of what we're doing to make sure that we ensure the continuous or progressive development through these three areas there. This science and evidence-based methodology, I think, has been criticized by a lot of programs for being too detailed. But the truth of the matter is that if you're not applying this level of thought and information to your programming, then it's only because you don't have the knowledge base to do so. This is the right way to do this. This is how we're able to create specific adaptations through our interventions and maintain health, a decreased risk for injury, and promote performance through our training. And I don't know any coach that would not welcome more information over their athletes to be able to make those more detailed decisions. And that's what we love here at Boothby Performance, is that we're able to, as a staff, look through these numbers, find out what's really happening, and then make those appropriate changes to our program. It's programming through our test and retest models. We love this field, and we want to make sure that we as coaches, just like our athletes, are getting better day to day. The way that we're able to implement this is through the testing protocols that we use. And the first thing that we're going to do with our athletes is we're going to look at manual muscle testing through that hip. Adduction and abduction strength differences. Timothy Tyler says that if adduction strength is not 80% of abduction strength, then we're 17 times more likely for hip strains, hip flexor pulls, groin strains. Same thing, right to left. We want to see that there's not dysfunction or asymmetries from that right leg to that left leg. We'll also look at goniometer measurements through internal-external range of motion. We'll look at sport-specific movement patterns through our Opto system, which is a laser and video analysis. We're able to track coefficient of variance on the right leg, right and left legs, but also compare that coefficient of variance right to left. So we're really looking at asymmetry and how these three girdles are working together. Are they functioning optimally? Where along, in these three areas can we make those adjustments? Do we have to regress all the way back to simple breathing, biomechanics, tissue capacity? Can we look at higher volumes there to increase our endurance? Or are we dialed in? Can we push those higher loads or higher velocities to create some of these higher end adaptations? But this is applying kinematics, the most recent research and evidence, to create a comprehensive and appropriate program that minimizes risk for injury, promotes performance, and sets a long-term curriculum for our athletes to be able to understand and commit to those daily behaviors that yields each change. And those are the same behaviors that not only promote performance, but protect our athletes' lifelong wellness. And that's our ultimate goal.